All right, guys, this is Ryan McArdle, partner at the Palomar Group, an investment sales firm in Augusta, Georgia. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Palomar Perspective. Today's guests on the Palomar Perspective are Eric Shulman and Stuart Carter of Westwood Financial. Eric is the Vice President of Transactions, and Stuart is the Transactions Manager at Westwood. Westwood Financial is a real estate investment group based out of Los Angeles, California. They currently own 73 shopping centers across California, Arizona, Texas, Colorado, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, Kansas, Nebraska, so kind of across the country. They own and operate neighborhood and community shopping centers. They've done so for about 50 years. They started out owning a collection of apartment buildings in West Los Angeles and morphed into a substantial power player in the shopping center business today. Eric, Stuart, always great seeing you guys. Thanks for joining us today. We'll jump right into it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. We'll jump right into it. Ask probably the prevailing question of the day that probably most people want to know is how much time y'all spend on TikTok these days?
Shockingly, I'm very anti-TikTok due to the fact that Chinese will have all my information if I do. So no TikToking for me.
Stuart, I'm guessing a good 2-3 hours a day. Don't lie.
I'm young. I'm not that young.
Well, I mean, my wife's not that young either, and she devotes a solid 2 hours a night to TikTok. So the Chinese definitely have all of our information, all our kids' social security numbers and everything. No, but really, let's jump into it and talk about a little bit about you guys' background. Eric, you came on board at Westwood in 2005, and Stuart, you came on in 2017. Eric, we'll start with you. Just talk a little bit about kind of your background, how you got to be at Westwood, and kind of what you've done over the years at Westwood leading to your current position.
Westwood for me started out as sort of a summer job that morphed into more of a career. I sort of dropped on Joe Dykstra's doorstep to learn the shopping center business and acquisitions, and started working with him. And just uploading marketing package back in the days when people used to send them via Federal Express in the mail. So I was just uploading in the system and just living and learning as much as I could. And after a couple of years, started getting into the disposition and due diligence mindset of shopping centers, and morphed into 15 years later vice president of transactions.
Yeah, gotcha. And Stuart, what about you? You aren't originally a West Coast guy, right? You're a UGA grad.
No,
and
originally from Charlotte.
So how what were the steps that took you out to the West Coast?
Bulldog.
Go Dogs.
And ended up coming out here in 2017. I think probably just because I always liked California and got hooked up with Joe Dykstra. I actually started out on the debt capital market side, so working, doing all our financings and pretty much anything that had to do with debt. In about a year in, I transitioned over to acquisitions, dispositions as an analyst, and been doing that for about 2 years. And now I'm the transaction manager, so kind of work with Eric and support him and trying to find deals, and also helping out with asset management now, doing a lot of leasing. So kind of wearing the hats.
Awesome. Now, Eric, you recently got married, a little over a year ago? Is that right?
Year and a half ago.
And you're still married, right? That's great news. And then you guys just had a little baby girl, 5 months ago? Congratulations.
Yeah, almost 5 months ago. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. How things going being a newlywed and having a newborn in the middle of COVID season?
If there's a silver lining to, this whole situation, is the fact that I've been pretty much home every day of my daughter's, life, which has been truly, truly like amazing, just on the fact of watching her grow up and, getting bigger and bigger. So it's been really, really amazing, to be at home. And also, my wife, she's a small business owner. So it's really, I get to see what she deals with on a day-to-day basis and how she's, coped with everything going on. So it's really been interesting, exciting, scary, all the above, at the same time.
Yeah. Now, see, and that's awesome. We've got a 5-month-old at home as well, and it has not been awesome. Our 5-month-old is our fifth little kid, and he has not been sleeping, and so it has not been a peaceful, enjoyable viewing party of him growing up thus far. 5 months in, but everybody's tired at our house.
Absolutely. Thank God my daughter's been sleeping 7 to 7.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. You're lucky. You're lucky. So, guys, I've got a handful of friends out in LA, and obviously news broke yesterday that y'all's governor put y'all back into phase 1 of kind of the lockdown. What's that going to mean for you guys out there going forward over the next month or so? I can tell, Eric, you're at the coastal house, but you got Stuart, cranking away in the office. What changes are going to happen with that lockdown going back in force?
Just means I get to become Bobby Flay again and fire up the grill 4 or 5 days a week.
Are we? What's going to happen with football out west? You think? With I got a buddy who works with the Rams and has been working his tail off getting this new stadium open. And then for all this to hit, what's y'all's take on what's going to happen with football season here coming up, both NFL and NCAA?
NFL is. I really don't know how the NFL is going to progress to having a season. If anything, I think it'll start late fall and go into spring. I know college, the Pac-12 is trying to follow the Big Ten model of just having conference games. We'll see if that happens or not. I mean, truly, baseball is going to really dictate, how everything starts and ends up, just on the fact that they're going to be the first professional sport to really try to tackle the coronavirus and play games.
That's right.
It'll be interesting. I know people like myself are dying for sports to come back. So hopefully they do, and hopefully everyone stays safe, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Stuart, obviously being a Bulldog guy, you know how much football flows through the blood of everybody down here in the Southeast. What do you think happens if the SEC doesn't play? I mean, there's a lot of people down here that say, hey, the SEC is just going to have their own season. If the NCAA doesn't have a season, the SEC is just going to have a season themselves.
Well, judging how Charleston, South Carolina was when I was down there, I think COVID is a different, not quite the same beast, at least in people's minds. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did go through with that. We'll see how it turns out, though. I have to imagine there's going to be a ton of cases in those locker rooms, but
I know there's got to be, right? You could do this NBA bubble, right, where you just keep everybody away from it.
It's just going to come down to if the players care if they get it or not.
That's right.
Hasn't LSU and Clemson been giving their players coronavirus, so they all get it out of the way?
Well, and not just do they care, right? Are the schools willing to deal with the potential liability associated with it, right? Would be my biggest fear there. And then otherwise, I mean, with y'all being in LA, back to the Rams again, I mean, they put this huge stadium up that they're supposed to have all these opening ceremonies associated with, concerts, football games and whatnot. What do you think happens there? I mean, does all that stuff get pushed back to next year sometime? Before
It all goes virtual.
It'd be hard to make your money back on virtual concerts, I'd imagine.
Yeah. That's what they're trying.
Yeah. Pretty sure the mayor pushed. You're not going to see a concert here in 2020. No. That's for sure. I mean, a sporting event. I mean, you may see the stadium, best case, 25% capacity.
Yeah.
But I know, our governor and our mayor, have been trying to really find a balance on what to do or not to do in terms of, helping support business at the same time, keeping everyone safe. And sometimes they seem to be doing a good job. Sometimes they seem to be doing a bad job.
Right. Depends who you ask as well, probably. Right. You guys, I don't know if you guys saw the RV trip that my partners and I recently took around the East Coast. We call it the Palomar Freedom Tour. But we did in that same vein, without conventions going on, without all these conferences and the chance to see a lot of the industry friends and clients that you normally do. What have you guys been able to do to stay in touch with clients and business partners throughout this shutdown?
A lot of phone calls and a lot of Zoom calls. Like you said, you can't really have the ICSCs. And, in my mind, I was always sick of going to Vegas until you're stuck at home for 2 months, and I was rearing to go to Vegas.
That's right.
So, it's just been Zoom calls and as many phone calls as you can, squeeze in a day, really, to keep the contact with everyone. Because, we're all in the same, position, really.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And golf.
I know we kept it on the East Coast while we were out on that trip, but we're hoping to have a little winter swing maybe and make it out to the West Coast if everybody keeps staying in lockdown mode here the next couple months.
The weather behind me stays the same year round.
I like it.
Hopefully golf is open by then, because that's the other thing.
No doubt. Westwood, as most people probably know, Westwood recently brought in a new CEO, Mark Bratt, a little over a year ago, I believe. Since he's been on board a year ago, 18 months, whatever it's been since he's been on board, how has the shift been internally with Mark's arrival? Has there been any big momentous kind of internal shifts in terms of what you guys are doing, or how y'all are going about conducting business?
Yeah, for the most part, it's business as usual. But with Mark coming on board, he's really tried to streamline to being really, really efficient in the marketplace. He's tried to incorporate and have incorporated a ton of technology into the accounting, property management, and just transactional parts of the industry that really just will help us become more and more efficient as time goes on. So he's really made a big push for that. And at the same time, he's out, talking to institutions about, really growing Westwood to be bigger and better over the, near future.
Yeah. Well, that's great. We got a chance to meet Mark, I think at the OAC or something recently, and he was great. You had mentioned it, Stuart, in terms of what things you guys are doing recently, and it's a common take that we're hearing from a lot of deal guys over the last 4 months, is that a lot of them are having to shift to help out the asset management side of the company. What have you guys had to do on that regard, and that front? Has it kind of been all hands on deck in terms of calling tenants and whether you're a deal guy or an asset manager or a leasing guy, in terms of making sure that all hands are on deck reaching out to tenants?
Yeah, I mean, initially we set up a hotline so they could email or call us if they needed help with their PPP or, idle grants and stuff. And so that's kind of what we were doing initially. And luckily our property managers and leasing team actually handled it pretty well. So the overflow didn't really reach us like I think it did at some other firms. I recently started doing leasing for our Southern California properties, and just in the interim until I think things, until acquisitions pick back up. So it's actually been a good experience for me because I'm really learning, the actual value driving part of the business. I think Eric and we're still working on transactions. We still have a couple in the pipeline that we will close, but it's been a little lighter. But I mean, overall, it's for me at least, it's probably a really good experience for my career long term to work on that.
I bet. And you really get to see behind the curtain as to what makes these shopping centers tick, right?
Yeah.
Whereas on the deal side, you see it real briefly, then you buy the deal or sell the deal, and then you pass it along to operators and you move on, right? So no doubt it's got to be helpful in terms of being able to see what makes the whole thing tick, right?
Definitely gaining a lot of respect for our leasing guys.
Oh, I'll bet. In that same vein, obviously the impact of the shutdown over the last 3 months has really been the biggest impact to our business. What's the impact been to Westwood? How are you all's rent rolls looking? How are you all's collections looking? Are y'all been able to keep most of y'all's rent rolls intact? Are y'all giving a bunch of deferments? And what's it kind of looking like for you all on working out deals and keeping tenants open for business?
Obviously the government pretty much mandates who could stay open or not, but our property management and leasing people have done like a superb job in collections department. I want to say in April we were about 91%, not including deferrals.
That's awesome.
And a lot of that's collecting, going into May and June and really, getting to the bottom of, getting people to pay. I want to say May was 80% and June was a shade below 80%. So like internally, couldn't be, prouder of the way Westwood's really, handled it and really tackled, the problems that we've been faced with. Yeah. And for the most part, our rent rolls, haven't really been affected. I haven't seen, tenants just fold up shop and leave.
Yeah. And would you associate that? I feel like some similar shops that we've talked to about the same issues who've had, like you all, maybe a higher a higher percentage of recoveries than market average, have been able to associate that with the large amount of grocery space that they own as a part of their rent roll. Would you attribute that to the same?
That and great locations.
No doubt. In regards to what you guys are doing, saw a post come across, I guess at the beginning of this year, maybe end of last year, that you guys recently closed on a new $95 million credit facility. Is that right? What can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah. So we previously had a secured credit facility with Wells Fargo, and we ended up doing an unsecured credit facility with KeyBank, and it has it's helped our ability just to manage, when loans come due, we can quickly pull, properties on and off them, and warehouse properties there, when we want to buy them. It just helps with our cash management a ton. And kudos to our debt capital markets team for setting that up, because if that hadn't been, we would have been fine. I'm not saying we've been distressed, but it gave us a ton of flexibility when all this happened. We just had access to that much capital with almost no questions asked. So it's been a great help.
Are y'all using that capital to continue to buy deals? Or are y'all using that capital to make sure you're good to shore up the assets you already own? Or what's the purpose of some of that capital?
Yeah, for the most part, we're not really super active with that, because it's we're trying to keep our overall fund leverage neutral. So we can't go out and just spend all the line, because that's really just buying something all debt, which is not necessarily the best move right now. But
I got you. And you said you guys are still rolling with some deals. What's that pipeline look like for you guys over the next 6 to 18 months in terms of an acquisition and disposition plan?
You'll go through a lot of rent roll discovery in the next 2 to 3 months, if stuff progresses and you sort of figure out coronavirus and everything. So for 2020, I can only assume that activity will be low to moderate, and I'm really expecting stuff to pick up in 2021. Mm-hmm. Whether it be the value add platform or just core shopping centers. I do believe with everything going on, you are going to see a lot of distress happen, just as rent rolls evolve into what's happening with certain centers. So 2021, I'm expecting a lot of activity to happen.
And I feel like the lenders have been so helpful with landlords. It feels like, I know I don't know, CMBS is a different story, but life companies and banks have been pretty quick, I think, to defer, amortization payments, go interest only, or completely defer all debt service. So that's going to end at some point. And when it does, that's when I think the distress is going to show up. But
right. Now what happens if, obviously this is being pretty speculative, but what happens if more and more states go back into a lockdown phase and some of these tenants need more help? Do you see the government, obviously coming up on an election, do you see the government cutting more stimulus checks and getting more money out to some of these tenants so they can survive, or what do you think happens there?
I'm of the personal opinion you sort of have to if you're the federal government, because what's your alternative? You're going to have small business basically just plummet and go away. This is the first time it's really been a shutdown that's been forced upon business, not because of the business's wrongdoing, right, but just because of where we are in the world. So it's really something that I feel the government will have to do something more if we really go through extended periods of closures.
Yeah. Good point. With that said, we'll jump into kind of our final, like I told y'all at the beginning, this is a quick call. So we'll jump into kind of the final portion of this call in this series we've been doing, which has been really successful. We've been really happy with it. Hopefully we get back to doing deals again. But a couple quick questions, answer real quickly, top of your head. Don't think about them too much. Eric, your wife is in the PR business, correct?
Correct.
If she was to spin a story to get you out of trouble for missing a meeting in Vegas because maybe you had a little bit of a rough time on the night before that meeting, what do you think she spins that as? What were you doing, and why did you have to miss that early morning meeting?
My wife is a deal maker, so she'll come up with the fact that Eric was up most of the night trying to really lock down a deal. And, to lock down a deal, whatever it takes, you do.
I like it. I like it. Stuart, if we do have a NFL season, have you converted out to West Coast teams, or are you supporting the Rams or the Chargers, or are you still keeping it real in Carolina?
I'm keeping it real in Carolina.
Okay. And how do you think the Panthers do this year with all the changes?
If they play?
Yeah, if they play.
They're gonna do great. They're gonna do wonderful.
Okay, well, cool, guys. Well, that's really it. Eric and Stuart, thanks for joining me. It's great to see you guys, although I wish it was in person. We always have a good time, Eric, when we see you in person. We've seen Eric obviously a lot more than we have gotten the chance to see you, Stuart, but we look forward to catching up next time we can. I hope you guys and the family stay extremely healthy and safe over the coming weeks and months. And guys, if you're watching this and would like to have a conversation about how the Palomar Group can help you with your acquisitions or disposition needs, please reach out to myself or any member of the Palomar team, or you can visit us at thepalomargroup.com. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, thank you for having us.